Hi everyone, Wes here. Just wanted to share with you some information. I've had some questions from some new clients rather than existing clients as to what sort of information that we compile and put together to satisfy or justify an area. For us it's called a due diligence kit, and it's absolutely vital to any deal that you're going to do. And it comes down to having excessive knowledge in an area to make sure that you eliminate the risks. I'm sure that everyone agree that the more knowledge you have on a topic, the less risk you carry with regard to whatever that topic happens to be if you're questioned. So in a case like this, I make it my role to have as much knowledge as I can about whatever it is that I do with property, so that I can ensure that I'm minimising the risk. I can then assess the risk and see whether it's viable enough for me to actually want to carry out that project. So I'm just going to touch on a couple of those things. One of the things that we do, which again I suppose comes from my background of being involved in construction, so being a numbers person, having to work out how to create deals and make projects work, building wise, make them work, but to also run your own projects as a building company, and that ranged from housing right through into large scale construction of hotels, gaming industry, factories, warehouses, hospitals, $4.5 million hospitals and nursing homes. So there are extensive projects. So I'm not just talking about, you know, your average little cottage things. But what it allowed me to do is to understand the numbers that occur within a project, and to how to analyse what it is required to make sure a project comes in on time, on budget, and works. And that is so critical. So that's why my results in property have been so successful, because I analyse every deal that way. And I do the homework, if you like to call it that, or the due diligence, to make sure that I know what to expect and then how to deal with that. This is a due diligence kit. I hope you can see it for one of the projects. Now this is for a project that I've done in Queensland. It's not a project that I've done in the US, because all the stuff that we do in the US now we're doing electronically. So we're doing it in a PDF format and pushing that through to our clients all around Australia. So it's not something I'm going to package up like this in hard copy and send off to someone. I'm going to save a lot more trees by not doing it that way, so we're using certainly PDF for that now. But I wanted to give you an example of one that I am using have used, not using now, this project's finished, have used for clients here in Victoria when we had this project going in Queensland. And what this due diligence covers is things, and I'll just skip through it really briefly to explain it, but there's images about the area, and there's an extensive index in the project which actually covers everything that is outlined in this document, and that covers everything from, you know, locality shots through to where the council's going in terms of what they're spending at the moment, how to get there, where the actual location is in terms of flights getting in and out of there, because you need to, if you're obviously talking about a region, you want to know that you can get people in there and you can get people out of there easily. And when they're there, why do they go there? So all the attractions as to why someone would go to a destination. Now this doesn't matter whether it happens to be Queensland, anywhere in Australia for that matter, or anywhere in the US. If you've got a destination that no one's going to, and you don't have a high population in that area, then you're wasting your time buying that in that area if the prices are low. I wouldn't do that. But if the prices are low and it's a destination where people are going, or they're migrating in there for work, then it is a place that I would certainly consider, particularly if it's got some lifestyle going to it, and it's got all the infrastructure around it. So it's got all the facilities that a destination requires. In the case that we're doing in the US, they're major capital centres or close to capital centres, which means they're always going to retain their value, because the closer you get to the city, the more valuable the land becomes. So kits like this cover all of that information. What they also cover, as I said, is everything from tourist information through to what the council's doing and attractions and events and all the statistics. Looking at whether the income that's generated in that area, in this particular instance here, whether the income generated in that area is within the bracket that you require for the purpose of what you actually purchase. So if you're buying family homes, then you want to make sure that the incomes that are coming into that area are in the region that they're going to support a family home. If you're looking to buy a dwelling that might be just occupied by a single lady or a single guy, then obviously you would look at that in a different way. That's what's important. You need to consider what you're buying based on that. You also need to consider what people want in that area. So it's no good guessing and saying, well, listen, I think that to go into a region that I'm just going to buy one-bedroom apartments because I think that's the best. well, I'm telling you right now that there's a fair chance you would screw up if you don't know what you're doing. What you have to do is you have to find out what it is that people want. How do you do that? Well, pretty simply, you go to all the agents, you talk to all the agents, and you find out what the demand is for. You also find out what properties they've got on their list right now, and what properties are actually that are actually vacant, and those properties that aren't vacant, the ones that they're the core of their business. So you can find out, you're getting a rental vacancy rate at that, so you're working out what the vacancy rates are for each of the agents. You're also working out what's in demand by the agents, who walks in off the street on a regular basis and is wanting properties, what type of person is wanting properties. Now, I'm suggesting in the US what's going to happen is probably going to be a little bit different to what's typically happened there. So statistically, you can look through a lot of the documentation, and it's going to show you that, for argument's sake, the highest occupied dwellings may be a 3-bedroom home in an area. But what's going to happen is, if there's larger homes in these areas, what's going to happen is families will actually joint sit those properties. So they're going to end up combining. And so you'll have elderly parents combining in with the younger kids, or you'll have 2 brothers or families or whatever getting together and operating a household and sharing the costs. Because costs have gone through the roof, and of course, there's been job losses, they're going to look at ways that they can actually get creative to get through this next wave. So even though the statistics will show that typically it's a 2-bedroom or 3-bedroom, it doesn't mean that you wouldn't consider buying properties that might be 4 or 5-bedroom if you can find those properties, or 6 bedrooms, if they're in great locations, knowing that there could quite easily be a lot more people prepared to team up and go into a property like that and share that accommodation. So I'm not saying to definitely do that, I'm saying to ask the question of the agents, is the demand there for that, and consider the answers that you get from that. And don't consider the answer from one agent, you consider the answers from all of them, and then you assess that through your checklist. That's going to tell you what it is that someone's looking for.